opened his eyes and saw nothing but darkness. His body felt wrong. His muscles were weak and his skin was cold like ice. He tried to move his fingers, but they would not listen to him. Slowly, very slowly, feeling began to return. First came pain, then came fear. A crack of light appeared above him. The lid of his pod was opening, remembered now. He had volunteered for the stasis experiment, 200 years of sleep to test long-term hibernation. The scientists had promised it would feel like nothing. They were wrong. It felt like death. The lid opened fully and took his first breath in what should have been 2 centuries. The air tasted strange. It was thick and wet and smelled of plants. That was not right. The medical bay had been clean and sterile when he went asleep. He sat up slowly, his body screaming in protest. The room around him was not the room he remembered. Vines covered the walls. Strange purple flowers grew from cracks in the floor. The ceiling had partially collapsed, and pale light came through the holes. Equipment lay broken and scattered everywhere. Dust covered every surface. "Where am I?" whispered. His voice was rough from 15,000 years of silence, though he did not know that yet. A screen nearby flickered to life. Static filled it for a moment before a simple face appeared. It was the station AI, but its image was damaged and kept breaking apart. "Subject," the AI said. "Vital signs stable. Welcome back to consciousness." "What happened here?" asked. He climbed out of the pod on shaking legs. "How long was I asleep? Where is everyone?" The AI was quiet for a long moment. Time elapsed since stasis initiation, 15,247 years. Laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "That is not possible. Check your systems. You must be damaged." "Systems are damaged," the AI agreed. "But time calculation is accurate. Your stasis pod experienced a malfunction in year 203. Emergency protocols kept you alive. I apologize for the inconvenience." Grabbed the edge of a broken table to keep himself standing. 15,000 years. That number was too big to understand. Everyone he knew was dead. His family, his friends, all gone. Not just dead, but forgotten. Turned to dust thousands of years ago. The crew said, "The other volunteers, where are they?" "All other stasis subjects died when backup power failed in year 4012. You survived because your pod was connected to an independent power source, a malfunction that became a blessing." Wanted to scream. He wanted to cry, but his body was too weak and his mind was too shocked. He simply stood there, trying to make sense of a world that no longer made sense. "What about Earth?" he asked. "What about humanity?" The AI flickered again. "I have limited information. My connection to external networks was lost long ago. However, before connection loss, I received reports of a galaxy-wide plague called the Silence. Humanity was declared extinct approximately 8,000 years ago." Extinct, the word hit like a physical blow. He was not just alone on this station. He was alone in the universe, the last human being, the final member of his species. Everything humanity had built, everything they had dreamed of, everything they had loved, gone. He fell to his knees among the purple flowers. 15,000 years of sleep, and he had woken up to find that he was the last chapter of a story that had already ended. A sound made him look up. It was a clicking noise like insects walking on glass. Something was moving in the shadows at the edge of the room, something not human. Tried to stand, but his legs would not cooperate. He could only watch as the figure came closer. It was tall and thin, with 6 limbs and a body covered in shiny plates that looked like armor. Its head had large eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. It looked like a giant insect, but it moved with obvious intelligence and purpose. The creature stopped a few feet away from. It made more clicking sounds, and then a device on its chest glowed. "You are alive," a voice said. It came from the device, translating the creature's language. "You are truly alive. I did not believe it when my sensors detected life signs in this section." stared at the alien. He should have been afraid, but he was too exhausted for fear. "What are you?" "I am," the creature said. "I am a trader. This station is a trading outpost now. Many species come here to buy and sell goods, but you," moved closer, those mirror eyes studying with wonder. "You are something I never expected to find. You are a human." "Yes," said simply, "I am human." Made a series of excited clicking sounds. "Impossible, wonderful, humans are legends now. Stories we tell our young ones, the great peacekeepers, the bridge builders, the species that loved too much and died for it, and you are real. You are here, alive." Did not understand most of what was saying. Legends, peacekeepers. What had humanity become in the thousands of years since the silence? "I need help," said. "I cannot walk well. I have been asleep for too long." Moved quickly, two of its limbs wrapped around gently, helping him to his feet. The alien's touch was careful, almost reverent. "I will help you. Of course I will help you. Come. I will take you somewhere safe. I will bring you food and water. I will tell you everything." As led him through the ruined corridors of the station, saw more aliens. Dozens of species walked through what had become a busy marketplace. Some looked like plants. Others looked like rocks with legs. A few had shapes that's mind could not properly process. All of them stopped and stared as helped the human pass by. Whispers followed them like shadows. "Why are they looking at me like that?" asked. "Because you are a miracle," said. "Because there is an old prophecy. It says that when the silence returns, the last human will wake and bring hope to the galaxy." Shook his head. "I am not a miracle. I am just a man who slept too long." "Perhaps," said, "but the galaxy does not care what you think you are. The silence has returned, human. Species are dying again. And you may be the only one who can stop it." They reached a small room that served as living quarters. The alien helped sit on a soft surface and brought him water. As drank, he thought about everything he had lost. Smile. His mother's cooking. The sound of rain on his apartment window and soul. All of it was gone forever. But something else was growing in his chest alongside the grief. It was small and fragile, but it was there. Purpose. If humanity was truly gone, then he was all that remained of his species. Their history, their values, their love and courage and kindness. It all lived in him now. He did not know if he could save the galaxy. He did not even know if he could save himself. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would try. For everyone who had ever lived and died under Earth's blue sky, he would try. "Tell me everything," said Tu. "Tell me about the silence. Tell me about this prophecy. Tell me what happened to my people." Sat across from him, those mirror eyes reflecting a human face full of grief and determination. "It is a long story," said. Managed a small, sad smile. "I have time, 15,000 years of it apparently." And so, in a small room on a station orbiting a dying star, the last human began to learn about the universe that had forgotten him. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. He did not know if hope was possible in a galaxy filled with death. But he knew that he was awake. He knew that he was alive. And for now, that would have to be enough. 3 days passed before could walk on his own. His muscles were slowly remembering how to work. Brought him food and water and medicine that tasted strange but made him feel stronger. The alien trader rarely left his side, watching him with those mirror eyes like was the most precious thing in the universe. On the 4th day, took him into the main hub of the station. Had seen glimpses of it before, but now he stood in the middle of it all. The hub was massive, with high ceilings and hundreds of stalls and shops built into every available space. Aliens of every shape and size filled the area. Some flew through the air on wings. Others slithered along the floor. A few seemed to float without any visible means of support. The noise was incredible, dozens of different languages mixing together into a wall of sound. And every single creature stopped what they were doing to stare at. "They know who I am," said quietly. "News travels fast," replied. You are the most important thing to happen in this sector in 1,000 years, perhaps in all of galactic history. Did not want to be important. He wanted to be home. He wanted to see Space and hold her hand and tell her about the strange dream he'd had. But that was not possible. That would never be possible again. A tall figure pushed through the crowd. It had skin and long limbs and eyes that were completely black. It wore robes covered in symbols that did not recognize. When it spoke, its voice was deep and filled with emotion. "I am," the alien said. "I am a scholar. I have spent my entire life studying human history. Your species was the most remarkable civilization the galaxy has ever known. And you are alive, truly alive. May I touch you, just to know that you are real?" Hesitated, then held out his hand. Long fingers wrapped around his, and the alien made a sound that might have been crying. "Warm," whispered. "Living warmth, I have read about this. Humans were always warm." "What do you mean you studied human history?" asked. "What do you know about my people?" Released his hand and stepped back. Everything that was recorded before the silence took them. Humans were peacekeepers. When species fought, humans would step between them and find solutions. They had a gift for understanding others, for building bridges between worlds that hated each other. "That sounds like diplomats," said. "More than diplomats," replied. "Humans cared, truly cared. Other species could negotiate peace for profit or safety, but humans wanted peace because war caused suffering. They felt the pain of others as their own. It was beautiful and terrible, and ultimately, it was what killed them." Remembered what the AI had said, a plague called the silence. "Tell me about the silence. How did it kill humanity?" Before could answer, a commotion erupted at the edge of the crowd. Aliens scattered as a group of soldiers pushed through. They were reptilian, covered in green scales, with powerful bodies and sharp teeth. Their leader was smaller than the others but carried herself with obvious authority. Her eyes locked onto with cold calculation. "I am commander of the Galactic Assembly Security Force," she announced. "By the authority of High Arbiter, I am here to take the human into protective custody." Moved in front of, spreading its limbs in a defensive posture. "He is not property, he is a person. You cannot simply take him." "I am not asking permission," said. "The human is a galactic asset. His biological material may contain the key to stopping the silence. Millions are dying every day. His personal freedom is less important than their lives." Stepped forward, putting a hand on shoulder. "Stop, both of you." He turned to face Commander directly. She was shorter than him, but her presence was intimidating. He could see the intelligence behind her cold eyes. She was not evil, she was desperate. "You said the silence is killing millions," said. "The same plague that killed humanity 8,000 years ago." "It returned 6 months ago," replied. "We do not know why. We do not know how to stop it. What we do know is that human biology was somehow resistant to its effects. Your scientists were working on a cure before your species died out." "So you want to use me as a test subject," said. "I want to use you to save lives," corrected. "Whether you cooperate or not does not change the outcome. You will come with us." The soldiers moved closer, made threatening clicking sounds. The crowd murmured with tension and fear. Could feel the situation spinning out of control. "Wait," he said loudly. "Just wait. I will cooperate. I want to help. But I need to understand what happened first. I need to know why my species died and why this plague has returned. Otherwise, I am just a piece of meat with no idea what is being done to me." Studied him for a long moment. "You would help willingly." "If humanity died trying to save others, then I would be dishonoring their memory by refusing to do the same," said. "But I need answers. I need to know the truth about my people." Stepped forward. "I can provide those answers. I have spent 60 years gathering human records and artifacts. I know the history of your species better than anyone alive." Considered this. Could see her calculating risks and benefits, weighing options. Finally, she nodded. "You have 3 hours," she said. "Learn what you need to learn, then you come with me." Led into a small archive room filled with data crystals and holographic displays. The scholar worked quickly, pulling up images and recordings and documents. "Humans originated on a planet called Earth," began. "A world that other species considered dangerous. High gravity, extreme temperatures, predators and natural disasters. Humans evolved to survive in conditions that would kill most other intelligent life." Said quietly, "That is what some called them." Nodded, but what made humans truly special was not their physical toughness, it was their hearts. When humanity joined the galactic community, they were shocked by how casually other species treated suffering. Wars were common. Exploitation was normal. The strong dominated the weak without guilt. Humans could not accept this, continued. They began to interfere. At first, other species were annoyed. Then they were impressed. Humans resolved conflicts that had lasted centuries. They created treaties that benefited everyone, not just the powerful. They gave food to the hungry and medicine to the sick, expecting nothing in return. Thought about his own world. Humanity had not been perfect. They had wars and cruelty and injustice. But they also had compassion. They had doctors who worked for free in poor countries. They had people who risked their lives to save strangers. Maybe that was what was talking about. Not perfection, but the constant effort to be better. Then the silence came, said. A plague that spread through space itself. It affected the mind first, making victims unable to communicate. Then the body followed. Within weeks, entire planets went quiet. How did humanity respond? Asked. His black eyes glistened with something like tears. They stayed. When other species fled, humans stayed to care for the sick. When the plague reached Earth, humans refused to abandon infected alien refugees who had come seeking help. They could have sealed their borders. They could have saved themselves. They chose not to. They died helping others, whispered. Yes, confirmed. The last human settlements were hospitals. The final recordings show human doctors and nurses caring for alien patients until the very end. They knew they were going to die. They did it anyway. Closed his eyes. He thought about she had been a pediatric nurse. She would have stayed too. She would have held alien children in her arms while the plague took her. That was who she was. That was who all of them were. And now the plague has returned, said, and he might be the cure. Nodded. Human DNA contains unique enzymes. Your scientists believed these enzymes could neutralize the silence, but they never finished the research. There was no time. Stood up, his legs were stronger now. His heart was heavier, but his purpose was clear. Where is the research? He asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Earth. The last laboratory was on Earth, in a bunker designed to survive for. If the cure exists anywhere, it exists there. Then that is where I need to go, said. He walked out of the archive to find Commander waiting. The reptilian officer looked at him with new respect. You know the truth now, she said. I know that my species died as heroes, replied. I know that I carry their legacy in my blood, and I know that you need me alive and willing, not drugged and strapped to a table. Was quiet for a moment. What do you want? I want to go to Earth, said. I want to find the research my people left behind, and I want to be treated as a person, not a specimen. Do that and I will give you everything I have. My blood, my body, my life if necessary. Extended a scaled hand. Agreed. Shook it. Behind him made nervous clicking sounds. Ahead of him, a journey to a dead planet awaited. But for the first time since waking up, felt like he knew who he was. He was the last human, and he was going home. The journey to Earth would take 3 weeks through unpatrolled space. His cargo ship was small but fast, and the trader insisted on being the one to take home. Commander agreed, though she sent 2 of her soldiers along as guards. Came too, unable to pass up the chance to see humanities with her own eyes. For the first few days, spent most of his time alone. He sat in the small observation room at the back of the ship, watching stars drift past the window. Each one might have been a sun that humanity had visited. Each one might have been a world where humans had lived and laughed and loved. Now they were all silent. Found him there on the fifth night. "You have not eaten today," the said. "I am worried about you." Shook his head. "I am not hungry. I keep thinking about everyone I lost, my family, my friends." Sat beside him, folding its 6 limbs carefully. "Who was?" "My," said softly. "We were supposed to get married after I woke up from the stasis experiment. She promised to wait for me. 200 years, she said. She would put herself in stasis too, and we would wake up together in the future." "That is beautiful," said. "She never got the chance," replied. "The experiment ran too long. She must have lived her whole life without me. She probably married someone else, had children, grew old and died, and I slept through all of it." Was quiet for a moment. Then it reached into a compartment on its chest and pulled out a small device. "I want to show you something, but I am afraid it might make you sad." "I am already sad," said. "Show me." Activated the device. A holographic image appeared in the air between them. It showed a human woman in a white coat, standing in front of what looked like a ship's bridge. She had short hair and tired eyes and a badge on her chest that read Captain Bay. "This is a recording I found many years ago," said. "It is one of the last transmissions from humanity. I have watched it hundreds of times." Stared at the image. Captain Bay looked like someone who had not slept in days, but there was steel in her voice when she spoke. "This is Captain Bay of the evacuation vessel Hope's Light," the recording began. "The date is— I do not know what date it is anymore. The silence has reached our convoy. Half our passengers are infected. We are not going to make it." The captain paused, looking off-screen. Could hear crying in the background. Alien voices mixed with human ones. "Command has ordered us to abandon the infected passengers and continue to the safe zone," Captain Bay continued. "Most of them are refugees from the system. They came to us for help. They trusted us." She shook her head firmly. "I will not do it. None of my crew will do it. We have taken a vote. We are staying with our passengers until the end." Tears rolled down his face. He did not try to stop them. "I know this means we will die," Captain Bay said. "But I keep thinking about something my grandmother told me when I was young. She said that being human is not about living forever. It is about loving so deeply that you are willing to die for others. Today, we prove that she was right." The captain stood, looking directly into the camera. "To anyone who finds this recording, remember us, not as victims but as people who chose love over survival. That is what it means to be human. That is who we were. That is who we will always be." The recording ended, turned off the device and sat in respectful silence. Wiped his eyes. He understood now. He understood why treated him with such reverence. Why had spent a lifetime studying human history. Why even Commander showed him a grudging respect. Humanity had not just died. They had died saving others. They had written their final chapter in acts of selfless sacrifice, and that story had echoed through the galaxy for 8,000 years. "Thank you," whispered Tu. "Thank you for showing me that." "I have watched that recording whenever I felt alone or afraid," admitted. "Captain Bay's words gave me courage. All my life I dreamed of meeting a human. I thought it was impossible, and then I found you." Put his hand on smooth shell. "I do not know if I can live up to what my species was, but I will try. That is all I can promise." "That is enough," said. "Trying is enough." The next morning, alarms woke everyone on the ship. Rushed to the bridge to find Commander's soldiers already there, checking sensors and scanning space. "What is happening?" demanded. "We have found something," one of the soldiers said. "A ship drifting, no power, no life signs." His black eyes went wide. "The design, that is a human vessel, one of the old exploration ships." Felt his heart pound. A human ship. After 15,000 years, floating here in empty space like a ghost. We have to board it, he said. Commander appeared on the communication screen from wherever she was monitoring them. Negative. We cannot waste time on dead ships. The mission is to reach Earth. That ship might have information, argued. Records, research, maybe even people in stasis like me. His eyes narrowed. The probability of finding survivors after this long is nearly zero. Nearly zero is not zero, replied. And if there is even the smallest chance that I am not alone, I have to take it, please. There was a long silence, then sighed, "You have 1 hour, make it count." The human ship was called the Wanderer, and boarded through an emergency airlock, wearing protective suits and carrying lights. The interior was dark and cold. Ice covered the walls. Their breath made clouds in the frozen air. "The design is beautiful," said softly. "Everything is curved, organic, like the ship was grown, not built." "Humans liked beauty," replied. He ran his hand along a wall, brushing away frost. Beneath it he could see painted images, flowers, mountains, a blue ocean under a bright sun. Someone had decorated their corridor with scenes of Earth. They found the bridge after 20 minutes of searching. Bodies sat in the chairs, frozen solid, looked at them for a long time. These were his people, his species, dead for thousands of years but still human. There, pointed, a data terminal, it might still work. Approached the terminal and began pressing buttons. To his amazement, emergency power flickered to life. The screen glowed weakly, showing a menu of files. Most were corrupted, but one folder was labeled Final Message. He opened it. Captain Bay appeared again, but younger this time. This was a different recording from earlier in the crisis. "If you are watching this, then the Wanderer has been found," the captain said. "We were part of a fleet trying to reach safe space. Our engines failed 3 days ago. We know that rescue is impossible, but before we die, we want to leave something behind." The screen showed images as the captain spoke, scientists working in labs, children drawing pictures, couples holding hands. "We have gathered everything we know about the silence," Captain Bay continued. "Our research, our medical data, our theories about how to create a cure. It is all stored in the ship's memory core. If anyone finds this, please take it, use it, save the lives we could not save." Found the memory core and removed it carefully. It was small, about the size of his palm, but it contained the last work of humanity's greatest scientists, their final gift to a galaxy they would never see again. As they left the ship, stopped to look back one more time. The frozen bodies on the bridge sat in darkness, waiting for a rescue that had never come. But they had not died in vain. Their work would live on. "Rest now," whispered. "You did everything you could. I will finish what you started." Back on ship, he connected the memory core to the main computer. Data flooded the screen. Research notes, biological samples, a partial formula for a cure. "This is incredible," breathed. "They were so close. Another few months and they might have done it." "Can we finish it?" asked. Studied the data with intense focus. "Maybe. With this research and your living DNA, maybe. But we need the original laboratory, the equipment, the samples that were stored on Earth." "Then we keep going," said. "We have 3 weeks. Use the time to understand everything in these files. When we reach Earth, we need to be ready." As the ship continued its journey toward the Sol system, sat alone in his room. He held a photograph he had found on the Wanderer. It showed a young man and woman standing in front of a sunset, smiling at the camera. Strangers, humans, dead for. But they had loved each other. He could see it in their eyes. That love had crossed 15,000 years to reach him, and somehow, impossibly, it gave him hope. He was not alone. He had never been alone. Every human who had ever lived was with him. Their courage, their kindness, their stubborn refusal to give up. Earth was waiting, and the last human was coming home. Earth appeared on the like a blue and green jewel floating in darkness. stood at the window, unable to move, unable to speak. The place where humanity had been born, had grown, had reached for the stars. It was still beautiful after all these years. "The atmosphere has recovered," said softly beside him. "After humanity died, the planet healed itself. Forests cover most of the continents now. The oceans are clean. It is a paradise." "A paradise with no one to enjoy it," whispered. Commander's voice came through the communication system. "We are entering the quarantine zone. Officially, Earth is forbidden space. The Galactic Assembly declared it a memorial world 5,000 years ago. No one is supposed to land here. But we have special permission," added, "because of him." The ship descended through clouds that its ancestors had once watched from grassy fields. He saw mountains covered in ancient forests, rivers that sparkled like silver ribbons, and where cities had once stood, only green remained. Nature had erased almost every trace of human civilization. Almost, but not all. "There," pointed at the screen. "Those mountains. According to my research, the underground laboratory was built in a place called Korea, near a mountain range that humans considered sacred." His heart ached. Korea, his home, the place where he had been born, where he had grown up, where he had fallen in love with. He was going home in a way he had never expected. They landed in a valley surrounded by peaks. When stepped outside, he fell to his knees and pressed his hands into the soil. Earth. Real Earth. The dirt felt the same as it had 15,000 years ago, rich and dark and alive. "Are you all right?" asked with concern. "I never thought I would touch the ground again," said. Tears dripped from his chin onto the soil. "I never thought I would smell the air, hear the birds, feel the wind." Birds sang in the trees around them. Flowers bloomed in colors that no alien world could match. This was what humanity had fought to protect. This was what they had loved enough to die for. A movement in the forest made everyone tense. The soldiers raised their weapons, but what emerged from the trees was not a threat. They were aliens, but unlike any had seen before. Short and round, with fur that shifted colors in the light. They wore simple robes and carried no weapons. Their large eyes looked at with something like religious wonder. The keepers breathed. "I thought they were a legend." The lead alien stepped forward and bowed deeply. "We have waited so long," it said, its voice high and musical. "For generations beyond counting, we have guarded this world. We knew that one day a human would return, and now you are here. The prophecy is fulfilled." Did not know what to say. He did not feel like a prophecy. He felt like a tired, sad man who had lost everything and was still trying to find reasons to keep going. "I need to find the laboratory," he said simply. "Can you help me?" The keepers led them through the forest and up a mountain path that had been carefully maintained for thousands of years. Along the way, they passed monuments. Stone pillars with human faces carved into them. Gardens planted with earth flowers. Small shrines with offerings of alien objects left by pilgrims who had traveled across the galaxy to honor humanity's memory. "We began as researchers," the keeper leader explained. "Scientists who came to study Earth after humanity died. But the more we learned about your species, the more we loved them. We decided to stay, to protect there, to wait for the one who would come." They reached a massive door built into the mountainside. It was covered in vines but still intact. The keepers had kept it clean and protected, waiting for this moment. "Only human DNA can open this door," the leader said. "We have tried everything else." Stepped forward and pressed his hand against a panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then lights flickered on, hidden machinery hummed to life, and the door slowly opened for the first time in 8,000 years. The laboratory inside was pristine. Automated systems had kept it preserved, waiting for someone who had never come. Walls lined with equipment, tables covered with notes and samples, and in the center of the main room, a holographic projector that activated as soon as entered. A woman appeared. She had hair and kind eyes and the look of someone who had spent a lifetime trying to save the world. "Hello," the hologram said. "I am Dr. Park. If you are watching this, then you are either the last human on Earth or the first one to return. Either way, welcome. I have been waiting for you." Stared at the projection. She looked like his grandmother, the same gentle strength, the same determination hiding behind a warm smile. "This laboratory contains everything we learned about the silence before the end," Dr. Park continued. "We were close to a cure, so close, but time ran out. The plague took us before we could finish our work." The hologram walked around the room, gesturing at different stations. "The cure requires a specific enzyme that only exists in human DNA. We could synthesize it in small amounts, but not enough to treat everyone who was infected. What we needed was a living human host, someone whose body could produce the enzyme continuously." "Understood immediately. You needed someone like me." Dr. Park smiled sadly as if she could hear him. "If you are a survivor, then you carry hope in your blood, literally. The equipment here can use your DNA to create a cure, but I must warn you, the process is not without risk. Your body will be stressed. There may be pain. There may be side effects we could not predict." "I do not care about the risks," said aloud. "I thought you might say that," the hologram replied. "Humans usually do. It is one of the things I love most about us." Dr. Park's image flickered slightly. "The process will take approximately 3 months. During that time, you will need constant medical care. The equipment here is designed to work automatically, but having others to support you would help." Was already examining the equipment with obvious excitement. "This is incredible. The technology is thousands of years old but still functional. We can do this. We can actually do this." Commander's voice came through their communication devices. She had stayed on the ship in orbit, monitoring their progress. "How much cure can we produce?" Ran calculations on a nearby screen. "If everything works as described, enough to treat billions, we could end the silence for good." "Then we have no choice," said. "We must begin immediately." Walked to the central platform where the process would take place. He looked at the machinery that would use his body to create hope. He thought about Captain Bay and her crew, who had chosen to stay with the sick. He thought about Dr. Park and her team, who had worked until the very end. He thought about every human who had ever sacrificed themselves for others. "I am ready," he said. The keepers gathered around him and prepared the equipment. The leader of the keepers took his hand gently. "You do not have to do this alone," the alien said. "We will be here. We will watch over you. We have waited so long for this moment. Now let us help you." Lay down on the platform. Sensors attached to his skin. Machines began to hum. He could feel something strange happening inside him, like his blood was becoming warm and electric. "There will be some discomfort," warned. "Your body is beginning to produce the enzyme at an accelerated rate. It will take time to adjust." Discomfort was an understatement. Within hours was in agony. His muscles cramped. His bones ached. Fever burned through him in waves. But every time he wanted to scream, every time he wanted to give up, he thought about her smile, her laugh, the way she had said goodbye on the day he entered stasis. "Come back to me," she had whispered, "no matter how long it takes." He was coming back, not to her but to everything she had believed in, everything humanity had stood for. Days passed, weeks, drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes he saw sitting beside him, clicking softly in what he had learned was a sign of worry. Sometimes he saw taking readings and muttering in scientific terms. Sometimes he saw the keepers, changing the flowers they placed around him, singing soft songs in their musical language. And sometimes in his dreams he saw. "You are doing so well," she told him. "I am so proud of you." "I miss you," he replied. "I miss you so much it hurts more than any of this." "I know," she said, "but pain means you are alive, and as long as you are alive you can help them. You can save them. What if I am not strong enough? She smiled, and it was exactly the way he remembered. You have always been strong enough. You just never believed it. Believe it now, for me, for all of us. He woke up screaming, was there immediately, holding him steady. It is all right, they said. You are all right, you are still alive. How long? Gasped. 2 months, replied. You have been producing the enzyme steadily. Says we have enough to treat hundreds of thousands already. You are saving lives right now as we speak. Ships are coming to collect the cure. You are saving lives. Closed his eyes and let the pain wash over him. It did not matter. Nothing mattered except this. He was doing what humans had always done. He was choosing love over comfort, sacrifice over safety, others over himself. 1 more month. He just had to survive 1 more month. But on day 73, his heart stopped. Alarms filled the laboratory, screamed, worked frantically at the machines. The keepers fell to their knees and prayed to whatever gods they believed in. And in the space between life and death, saw one more time. Not yet, she said firmly. It is not your time yet. Go back, finish what you started. I am tired, he admitted. I am so tired. I know, but they need you. The galaxy needs you. And somewhere out there are more of us. More humans sleeping in the dark waiting to be found. Go back and find them, please. Opened his eyes. The alarm stopped. His heart beat again. And tears streaming down her face whispered, the research. There is something in the old files, other stasis pods, other locations. There might be more humans. You might not be the last. For the first time in months, smiled. The cure was working, hope was possible, and his journey was not over yet. 3 more weeks passed before was strong enough to stand. The cure production had finished. His body had given everything it could give. He was weak and thin, and his hair had turned from the stress, but he was alive. Against all odds, against every prediction, he was alive. Ships came and went from orbit carrying doses of the cure to every corner of the galaxy. Commander personally supervised the distribution, making sure that no species was left out, that no one was forgotten. The silence began to retreat. Millions who had been dying started to recover. For the first time in months, the galaxy dared to hope. Watched it all from a window in the laboratory, wrapped in blankets, surrounded by flowers the keepers had brought. Sat beside him every day, reading reports aloud, telling him about the lives he had saved. A hospital on the just confirmed full recovery of all patients, said one morning. The doctors are calling you a god. I am not a god, replied quietly. I am just a man who refused to give up. That is what gods are, said simply, beings who refuse to give up on the rest of us. On the 4th week, came running into his room with her eyes wider than he had ever seen them. We found them, she gasped. The coordinates from the old files. We sent scouts to check. We found them. His heart, still recovering from everything it had endured, began to race. Found who? Other humans, 17 of them, in stasis pods scattered across former colony worlds. Some pods failed like the ones on the station, but 17 survived. They are alive. You are not the last. Could not speak. He could not move. He could only sit there as tears rolled down his face, as the weight of 15,000 years of loneliness finally began to lift. The Galactic Assembly moved quickly. Commander led a fleet to recover the surviving humans, treating the mission with the same urgency as a military operation. Coordinated the scientific aspects, making sure each pod was handled properly, each sleeper given the best chance of waking safely. Insisted on being there for the first awakening. He was still weak, still recovering, but nothing could keep him away. Helped him onto a shuttle, and they flew to meet the recovery fleet at a rendezvous point near the old colony of New Sol. The recovered humans were being kept on a medical ship, monitored constantly as they were slowly brought out of stasis. 17 pods, 17 chances, 17 pieces of humanity that had somehow survived the death of their species. When arrived, he was taken to a room where the first human to be awakened was being prepared. She was young, maybe 25 years old when she went into stasis. Her file said her name was Lee, and that she had been a biologist studying alien ecosystems when the silence struck. "She is almost ready," the alien doctor said. "Her vital signs are stable. We believe she will wake within the hour." Sat beside her pod and waited. He thought about what he would say. How do you explain to someone that 15,000 years have passed, that everyone they loved is dead, that the world they knew is gone forever? He did not have answers, he only had his presence, his hand ready to hold hers, his voice ready to comfort her. The pod opened slowly. Eyes fluttered. She took a breath, just as had done so long ago in a ruined medical bay on a distant station. Her eyes opened, and for a moment she stared at the ceiling in confusion. Then she turned her head and saw. "Who are you?" she asked in Korean, her voice rough from sleep. "Where am I? What happened?" Took her hand gently. His eyes filled with tears, and he smiled despite them. "I know," he said softly. "I know this is confusing, I know you are scared, but I need you to hear me. You are not alone. None of us are alone anymore." Stared at him. She looked around at the alien medical equipment, at the non-human doctors watching from a distance, at the universe that had changed beyond recognition while she slept. "I do not understand," she whispered. "You will," promised. "I will explain everything. I will tell you what happened. I will help you through this. I went through it too. I woke up thinking I was the last human in the universe, but I was wrong. There are others. There are 17 of us now, and together we are going to rebuild." Over the following days, more humans woke. Each one was terrified at first, just as had been. Each one needed time to grieve, to process, to accept a reality they had never imagined. But with each awakening, the small community grew stronger. There was a 45-year-old engineer who had been in stasis on a deep space construction platform. There was a 60-year-old grandmother who had worked as a translator for alien diplomatic missions. There was young Park, only 19, who had been placed in stasis by his parents as a desperate measure when the silence reached their colony. Each one had a story, each one had lost everything, but each one looked at the others and saw something precious: family, not by blood but by shared experience, by shared humanity. The Galactic Assembly held a ceremony on Earth. Representatives from every species gathered in the valley where had first touched the soil. The keepers led prayers of thanksgiving. Commander gave a speech about courage and sacrifice. High Arbiter, who was now recovering from the silence thanks to the cure, addressed the galaxy through a broadcast watched by trillions. "For 8,000 years we thought humanity was gone," the Arbiter said. "We mourned them. We built monuments to them. We told stories about their kindness and their bravery. Today we celebrate their return, not as conquerors or rulers but as what they always were: friends, helpers, the best of what intelligent life can be." Stood among his fellow humans as the galaxy applauded. 17 survivors. It was not many. It was barely a village, but it was a beginning. After the ceremony, he walked alone to a cliff overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Waves crashed against rocks far below. Somewhere in the distance, birds were singing their evening songs. He thought about, he would never see her again. He would never hold her or hear her laugh or watch her care for sick children with that endless patience that had made him fall in love with her. But she was still with him. Her spirit, her values, her belief that love was worth any sacrifice. Footsteps approached from behind, turned to see walking toward him. She had grown stronger over the past week. Her eyes were less haunted now, though the grief would never fully leave. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for being there when I woke up. I do not know how I would have survived without you." "You would have survived," said. "Humans always survive. It is what we do." stood beside him and looked out at the ocean. What happens now? 17 people cannot rebuild a species. Maybe not, admitted. But we can rebuild a culture. We can teach the galaxy who we were. We can show them what humanity stood for: kindness, compassion, the stubborn refusal to abandon anyone who needs help. That is a big responsibility. Smiled. Captain Bay once said that being human is not about living forever. It is about loving so deeply that you are willing to die for others. I think it is also about living so fully that others remember you long after you are gone. We may be the last generation of humans, but we can make sure that what we stood for never dies. Was quiet for a long moment, then she reached out and took his hand. My grandmother used to say something similar, she said. She said that every person is a story, and as long as someone remembers the story, the person never really dies. Your grandmother was wise. She was human, said simply. They stood together as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Stars began to appear, one by one, filling the sky with light. Each one was a sun that humanity had once reached for. Each one was a world where humans had made friends and built bridges and chosen love over fear. Below them, in the valley, the other survivors were gathered around a fire. Was telling stories about Captain Bay's final broadcast. Was explaining human history to anyone who would listen. The keepers were serving food they had spent years learning to prepare from ancient human recipes. It was not the world had known. It was not the life he had expected, but it was beautiful, it was full of hope, and most importantly, it was not over. Come on, said, gently pulling his hand. The others are waiting. Took one last look at the stars. Somewhere out there, maybe, there were more pods waiting to be found, more humans sleeping in the dark, more stories waiting to be continued. But for now, he was content to be here, on Earth, among friends, human and alien alike. He turned away from the cliff and followed down to the fire. The sound of laughter drifted up to meet him. Someone was singing a human song, teaching the aliens the words. 15,000 years late, had finally come home. And this time he was not alone.